Afternoon all, welcome to Tier 3, welcome to my kitchen in Coat Court. Make my tea. Session 51, just wait for a few people to come on. Got my tea. I think boredom's setting in the lockdown, back on the Jeff cakes, so, but they're on offer. So, got a question, obviously. Question of the day. We're going to talk about being assertive remotely. I was on a call this morning and I was talking about being remotely assertive, but I think that's not as good. So we're going to being assertive remotely. That's what we're going to talk about. See if anybody else is coming. I've got a question though. I'll ask the question. I'll ask it again. It's 2nd of February today. Well done. Well done. Carly, Gemma. I even know who's here. Carly, Gemma. My question is, so it's 2nd of February. So I had a look at what happened, and I found out that on the 2nd of February, Milvina Dean was born. Who is Milvina Dean? I hear you crying. Well, Milvina Dean was on the Titanic, and she was the last survivor of Titanic, and it would be her birthday today. And my question is, how old would Milvina Dean be today if she was still alive? How old would Milvina Dean be today? So she was the last known survivor of the Titanic. And that's my question. And it's her birthday today, or it would have been her birthday today. So that's my question. So if you want to guess at that, I'm sure we all know when the Titanic sank. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not going to tell you because that might help. Gemma, 113 today. Well, Gemma's obviously not 113 today. That would be weird. So that's the question. If nobody else guesses, Gemma's won. So anybody else have a little guess? How old would Milvina Dean be today if she was still with us? Oldest known survivor of the Titanic. She's no longer with us, though. That's the question. So what we're going to do, talk about being remotely assertive. Can we be remotely assertive? Is that an easy thing to be? I think, whenever I speak to a lot of people, a lot of training, delivery, and constantly people want their presence to be felt, and whether that was face to face, but some people even think, even harder still, remotely. Wow, the guesses are hammered in there. And so what can we do? Firstly, with assertiveness, it's like, what is it? It's really the art of good communication. That's what being assertive is. A lot of people know about aggressive and passive, and they're like on a sort of a sliding scale. But assertiveness doesn't sit on that scale. It's something different. It's a skill that's learned. Whereas the other two are more behavioural traits. Assertive is something that you can learn. And anybody can learn it. So anybody can learn to be assertive. It's like juggling. Sometimes it's not like juggling at all. But what I mean is it's a skill that can be learned. So what I mean is some people will naturally be able to pick up the skills of assertiveness quicker because maybe for a host of reasons. It could be education, it could be background, it could be grasp of language. Those things might impact on it in the same way that some people who juggle because they've got good hand-eye coordination can pick up juggling quicker. But everybody can learn to be assertive. I think that's important. Now, how can we be assertive in this kind of format? This is kind of different. This is what a lot of us are faced with. Back to things that we've said before, but we'd certainly recommend you use video. If you can see people, it's much better. We do like to see people, so always switch your vid on if you can. I read somewhere and it said, use your camera, be large and in charge. I don't. It's good because it rhymes, but that doesn't mean I kind of like love those words. But use your camera because once people can see you, it's so much better. It's one of the first things we want. So visually, it's kind of what we're craving a lot. So don't be afraid to turn your camera on. That's the first thing. During meetings, big meetings, let's think about how can I speak? What are the hand raise protocols? Is it just a bit of a free-for-all, or if there is a hand raise button, whether you're using Zoom, Teams, whatever you're using, I'd kind of understand what that is, or do we just type questions in chat when we want to speak? But kind of set those protocols up. I think that's good. If they're not there, I think you can find out. You can ask from the chair. How we're going to speak, because otherwise it can be a bit of a free-for-all. The question, Kirsty, the question of the day is Milvina Dean. Anybody else who's joined late? A few have. Milvina Dean, it's her birthday today. She was born on the 2nd of February, and she was the oldest known survivor of the Titanic. Wow. Shooting from the hip, Sam. And I think I'd happily live 134. I quite like that. And the question is, how old would she be if she was still alive today? Milvina Dean. She was on the Titanic. How old would she be if she was still alive today? It's her birthday today. She was the last known survivor of the Titanic. So that's the question. And I can, whatever the answers are, I'd just like everyone to know that Sam hasn't won. That's the way it goes. Anyway, so what else are we talking about? Oh yeah. So what else are we talking about? So when we do speak, a little bit slower, because kind of people take a little bit longer to listen. So slow, enunciate a little bit better, a little bit clearer in how you speak. And again, I was on a call this morning. It was just quite interesting today, and there was one of those things where two people spoke and somebody went, oh no, after you, oh no, after you. And over talking is going to happen. That's just going to be one of those things a lot of the time. Even if we've got protocols in to speak, it will kind of happen. So I think what we can do is if you've got a point and you want to make it and you over talk, if both people back away, then we end up in that kind of, oh, are you going to the left or I'm going to the left? So I think it's okay. You can carry on speaking. And one of the things, once you've finished, is then invite the person that you overspoke in. So, Sam, what was your point? Because otherwise somebody else might pick it back up. So I think acknowledge almost that you've taken the floor from somebody, but then invite them to speak. That can be quite nice. But be polite, so give way, but don't be afraid to participate. So don't be afraid to speak up. I think that's important. If you're on the call, and this goes back whether it's face to face or not. If you don't speak, the more time people wonder what you're doing there in the first place, really. So from an assertiveness point of view, it's got to be clear, because generally, even here you can see my torso, but generally on a meeting, you're often just looking at heads. So we're losing a whole lot of non-verbals, which is what we crave. So let's think carefully about the words we use. Over-communicate for assertion. Seek feedback and give feedback on how you went. When I mean by over-communicate, do it more regularly. That's the kind of the way we're going to go. Phrases and words that still exist, things like I believe, I recommend, in my opinion, own it with those I words. If you want to bring other people in, Darren, what do you think? Darren, I know this impacts more on your department. How do you see it? So bring people in like that. Try and avoid things. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if anybody else thinks this. These are phrases we don't want. But I believe, in my experience, what I see as beneficial, yeah, these are good. Own it. That's not saying we have to do it, but that's taking a wee bit of responsibility for what you believe. Probably the best thing about this kind of the lockdown and the way we're having to work is the remoteness makes it regular. So that gives you a greater chance to be assertive, if you like, to practice the skills. Some of us may be being forced into things that we wouldn't normally have done. So I think that gives us a chance to practice some of these things. I think people have learned to be a lot more succinct, certainly on things like anything with a timing on it. It's like we've only got 40 minutes. So that's an immediate bonus. So we've learned to be succinct. If you're on camera, think about what you look like. So what are people seeing? Because I think, when we talk about what's assertion, people still talk about, about how that person moved, about how they carried themselves. Well, now we're only talking about this bit. So can I look assertive just by looking at the camera or something like that, or what I'm wearing? What do I look like? I think we recognise we're very aware of other people's tone. So let's listen to ourselves. Let's take advantage of the fact that we can see ourselves and hear ourselves probably more than when we were just sat down at a desk or talking across the floor at someone. So listen to your tone. If there's things that you pick up on other people that you were less comfortable with, listen out for them in yourself. How do I want to get that message across? Where's the emphasis on key words? Nice simple words that we can use. So I've got to be clear. I've got to be concise. And interestingly, the T's at threes we've done. Generally, they run between about 11 and 15 minutes. You know, those core messages, we can just get the core points out in that level of time. So clarity, concise, and consistent. And I think that's important from an assertive point of view, that you're consistent in how you behave, how you act, and how you present yourself. Whether this lands with assertiveness, I think you can always say, could I have covered it in an email? I think that's fair enough, because I think there's a danger that we get zoomed out, remoted out. But you can, without doubt, be assertive online. Funnily enough, I think some people are more confident online, more confident to speak, to raise their hand. So these could be some of the skills that we can bring back when we're face to face again. What was it gave me the confidence to do that? Because you can still see everybody in the room. So that it's those kind of skills that we want to bring back, take it forward when we're face to face. Online or face to face, the skills of assertion remain the same. Confidence in what you're saying doesn't have to be right, but confident that you have the ability and the belief that you can put your point of view across. Put it across as that, my point of view, my opinion, and it's fine. Remember to listen to the other person's opinion and point of view. All right, so there's a few little tips to how to stay assertive. Now, how old was Milvina Dean? And we range from 108 to 134. So the Titanic actually sank on the 15th of April, 1912. So sort of just shy of 109 years. And in fact, Milvina Dean was 109. It's her birthday today, and she was just 2 months old when she was on the Titanic. So Kirsty, right in at the end with a little question mark, but 108, you're just 1 year out, which would have been impressive if she was 108, because the Titanic wouldn't have sunk. She would have been born when the Titanic floated. So Kirsty's the closest. And I will see you all next week. Have a cracking afternoon, whatever you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys.